Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. It has been a while since I recorded a podcast. I think my last one was in August 26th. What a whirlwind month September was, and now it's Friday the 13th of October. Just been a crazy little while. You'll have to excuse my voice. I'm still kind of getting over this bout of illness. Man, it's been a long time. At least I want to say it's been 2.5 weeks that I've been sick. I don't get sick very often, but when I do, when I get like a flu-like thing, man, it knocks me out. This time, I thought it was going to be just a short, like, flu bug, and it just transformed into the most awful thing. Ended up having to go to the doctor, and I'm resistant to that because I don't like the doctor. And, yeah, I ended up having to go to the doctor, and they didn't tell me anything, really. I got a chest x-ray done, and it was kind of like, oh, well, that's clear, so it's not pneumonia. I was like, thanks, that's great. What is it? But they didn't really have any kind of other tests that they ran. Kind of the diagnosis was that it was just a bronchitis, and it was viral. You got to just let it run its course. And so here I am. I can finally talk again, but I still have a little bit of phlegm. I have a hard time talking, and some of the higher notes and stuff, if my voice goes up, then it cracks. And I still have this cough that just won't go away, really. But man, it's been crazy. I keep wanting to record podcasts, and I think about it every Friday night. I was doing so good there for a while. I recorded 13 podcasts, and I didn't know what to talk about sometimes, and I had a lot going on. I had a lot on my mind, and just things were making me mad, and things were frustrating me, and life just really wasn't where I wanted it to be at. And so September came, and it was an interesting month. My grandfather passed away. I wasn't super close with him. And that's kind of the narrative of, my extended family. When my sisters were younger, my youngest sister was like 6 years older than I am, so there's a significant gap there. So when my sisters were younger, obviously my grandparents were younger, they were more there, and they interacted more. As the older they got, my grandma had health troubles, and then my grandpa, he lost his hearing in World War II. And so he used a hearing aid, but he had a hard time hearing people, so he didn't go to like family functions and stuff where a lot of people were talking, because he didn't like it. It was hard for him to hear. So I didn't really have an interaction with my grandparents like my siblings did. And so for me, when my grandparents pass away, I kind of feel like it's my job to just be there for my mom, because those are her parents. Because honestly, it's sad for me, but it almost felt like a stranger at some point. That I didn't really know them that well. I knew them fairly well, but there were all sorts of things. They're like, oh, do you remember Grandpa did this? And I'm like, man, I don't remember that. Oh, we went to this with Grandma and Grandpa. They took us to this thing. I'm like, how old was I? Like maybe 1, 2? Even if I was born. I might not have even been born when they went and did that. Because a lot of these things happened when my youngest sister Susie was young. So who knows if I was alive? Might have happened in the 80s, and I was not alive. So it was sad for me, and it was a hard thing because he died of cancer. And essentially, he went from being there to not being there. Cancer, it was about 10 days. They diagnosed it to the point where he passed away. He had liver cancer. And I guess that's what his dad died of as well. I didn't know that. But it was so fast. And I guess the mortality of humans is hard to grasp sometimes, because you can go at any time. There's really not any kind of plan set out for you that you can, like, I'm going to be 77. I'm going to pass in my sleep. Probably, an aneurysm that no one knew about, and then that'll be it. That would be convenient if we knew exactly when we were going to go. But we don't. So it was good, I think, that I got to see him. I got to at least say goodbye to him this time. I know when my grandmother passed, I was going to go out and say goodbye. I didn't realize that my siblings had all gone out and said goodbye. They'd taken their kids. My mom and dad had gone out and said their goodbyes. They didn't tell me. And so ultimately, when she passed away, there was closure for a lot of people except for me. And that was hard for me because I felt like I didn't know, or I wasn't included in a lot of that stuff, And that was the one time, oh man, my mom took me outside at the viewing. She's like, what's going on? Because you don't something seems off with you. I think it's the first time in my whole entire life that I've cried in front of my mom. And it was that ugly crying, man. Like, I tried my hardest to contain my emotions, but just that big chest heave and the sob came out, and I was like, oh man, there are some things that are unresolved that I should probably address at some point. And I think from that, my mom kind of took that, and so she made sure that I was included a lot more when my grandpa passed away. She invited me to go out with her, and so I guess it made it feel a little bit better. I can tell you right now, I hate viewings. And honestly, I hope I don't die tomorrow, but if I die, you're not coming to a viewing of mine because I won't have one. I'm going to be cremated. Okay, that's the cheap side of me, is it's cost effective. It's a lot cheaper than being buried, buying a casket, all that. But at the same time, I don't want a viewing. I don't want people to see me gone. I feel like funerals are a celebration of the person's life, not this spectacle for their death. And I think a lot of times that's what it turns into, and people are sad, and you can only say it's okay so many times when people are like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. It's like, I'm sorry too, but he's an old guy. He's 91, almost 91 years old. He outlived all of his friends. He outlived his wife. He didn't do so well towards the end. So it's bittersweet because you're sad that they're gone, but you're happy that they're not suffering. And whatever your belief system is, if you believe in an afterlife, you believe in heaven, which that's kind of my belief, is you're reunited with people who have gone before you. That's a happy thought for me, And you can be cynical or whatever, and well, there's nothing after this, but it's nice to have hope, you know? So that was the first thing in September that was just crazy. Second thing, I'm a homeowner. I own a townhome. No more like paying management companies to not come and fix your stuff, to gouge you on rent. I finally have gotten my own place, and I'm in the process of moving right now. This will probably be the last podcast that I do at this apartment that I'm currently in. So long, Murray. So long, this little apartment that has too many bad memories in it. Moving on. I really like the new place. It was kind of a crazy turn of events because my buddy does real estate, and I told him, I was like, I'm not looking to spend over $200,000, and I'm looking for a townhome, and I'm looking in the valley. He's like, all right, put all those in for me. Started sending me like daily newsletter updates of these are what's available on the market. And I saw that this place went up, and I was like, man, that looks nice. Like, it's 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom. It had an unfinished basement. I was like, I gotta see this place. So I hit him up. I'm like, hey, I talked to my parents. We're doing this funeral stuff, but we also want to see this. He's like, all right, well, I'll try and get you in on a Monday. It was like first thing Monday. I was talking to him on Friday. Or maybe it was Saturday, I think. He gets with me later that evening, Saturday evening. He's like, look, they're going to review the offers that are on the townhome Sunday at 2 p.m. So if you want to get in there and see it, you got to offer. If that's, if that turns out to be that way. And I was like, well, great. So I talked to my parents. I'm going to have them come with me. We walked through it. It's great. It is so great. For the price, what a steal. What a steal. So I'm like, okay, I think we should put an offer down. So we put an offer down. Comes back later that day, and they're like, look, we had another offer that was way higher. However, you have a cash offer going in. If you're willing to split the difference, it's yours. So talk it over with my parents again. Decide that was what we were going to do. Literally 2 weeks later, we're going to closing and everything. And it's just crazy, man. I went from not knowing really what I was doing to having like something that's mine and that I have to own and that I have to take care of. And I walk through it and I feel like I'm on flip or flop. I'm like looking at this. I'm like, well, maybe you could take the banister out and put in an iron one, and we want to get rid of the carpet in this room, put hardwood in. And I'm like, man, I'm excited because there's so many of these projects now that I have that I can do. And that kind of gives me a little more motivation and purpose. So that was the second big thing in September. It's a weird feeling knowing that like I'm moving on to another chapter in my life. This whole year has been just chapters. Honestly, I didn't have a book at the beginning of this year because after the breakup and everything, that just kind of slammed everything to like a complete stop. There were mental health issues, and it just felt like the end of the world. And that sounds so stupid now, like that you get that torn up over a relationship that nothing really matters, and you don't eat, and you just feel like dying, and the cops come because your ex thinks you're going to commit suicide, and just crazy times at the beginning of the year. And I was just kind of devastated, and that's the lowest it's been for me. So this whole year going on and building myself back up, going to work every day. That used to be a struggle for me to want to go every day. But for a good portion of this year, it was like, I'm going to work. I'm going to finish my work. I'm going to get paid in 2 weeks. And I'd collect my paycheck, and I was like, man, this isn't so bad. I'm paying my bills. My social life kind of went out the window as far as like anything. I'd spend my weekends like by myself at home, or I'd have like one person over. I'd spend the weekend with somebody, or it just was non-existent. And that hasn't really changed, but there were some people along the way that have made it easier. There's some people along the way that made it harder. I won't get into a lot of detail. I had something in California that just blew up for me, and man, I'm kind of grateful that it did. And I'm grateful that I learned when I was out there exactly what that was. Sometimes like we hold a lot of confidence in other people, and we feel like we understand what someone's doing or where they're at or what they want out of life. And then when you meet and actually sit down and talk with them and interact with them for periods of time, then you realize that a lot of times people say what sounds really good. I had someone, message me first and went on and on about all this stuff, about how they were tired of games and how they weren't doing this, and they had me convinced that that was them. Well, it only took a couple months before it became quite apparent that wasn't the case. And am I mad about it? No. I can't believe I got my time wasted. I can't believe that I invested my own money, my own time, my energy into pursuing something that was bogus. Like, I hate that. I hate when people waste my time. I would much rather someone be straight up with me than to just pussyfoot around the main issue and make me believe that something is important. I'm long past the days of getting my feelings hurt. I used to be that guy, honestly. I'd talk to someone and then they'd get a boyfriend or they just weren't feeling me, and then they were done, and I was like, personal blow right to the chest, and it was difficult, and I kind of got a little crazy, honestly, and that's not a good look. That wasn't a good situation for me. But now, as of right now, as of tonight, I've been talking to somebody for a while now, and they're pretty great. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. And it's that thing. You have a lot of confidence in someone. You're very positive about it. But for me, this that I'm feeling is a good feeling, that it's a good chance that it's just going to be great and it's going to work out for me. And it's been nice because I look forward to that person. There hasn't really been people like that since Tori, since breaking up with her, and even after just the whole mess with talking to her and going back and talking to her and sneaking around behind whatever, and I look forward to talking to this person. I light up when I see him on my messages. That sounds corny as hell, but it's the truth. It's a good situation, and essentially, that's how I like to spend my weekend. And it's weird for me because I'm I don't want to dive into something, but at the same time with this, it's so comfortable and I don't have to feel like that. And And I think that's the biggest reason why it works, is because sorry, stuttering. The dynamic is just, it's unlike any that I've ever felt. And, I've had a fair share of, like, feeling out periods with different people, and nobody feels like this. So, positives, I'm excited and I'm happy about where my life is headed right now. And, man, being sick has just, it's kicked my ass. I lost 9 pounds being sick, and actually, like, I felt sick, but at the same time I felt better because, like, I'm down 9 pounds. And so it's so hard for me. Like, for some people, like, diet and exercise is just, it's easy. That's just part of their day. It's always been a struggle for me. And it hasn't always been about willpower. So I have some health challenges that make it hard for me to lose weight. Like, my body will hold on to weight, and it's really crazy to me that happens. But that's just the way it is. But seeing the doctors and stuff, it's like, it's manageable. This is manageable. I can get down to my goals if I really bust ass. Get up and do it. And it's so hesitant sometimes, like, when you want to make a change in your life, but it's sorry. But it's a change that's difficult. And so you're not like 100% invested into it. And people are always like, oh, just do it. Just do it. Meal prep. Do this. I honestly, I don't like those people. I don't like the people that just assume that, like, you can do things just because you put your mind to it. I think a lot of times you have to have internal motivation as well as external motivation. And that means you have to have a reason why you're doing it. Not just because you want to do it. That's not going to be strong enough, in my opinion. I think you have to have a lot more motivation than that to change. I quit drinking. That's been quite a change. I haven't drank since sometime in August, maybe. I don't think so anyway. Yeah, and I feel better about that. Honestly, I shouldn't drink at all. I have a liver disease. This is like the Sam medical episode, but that's another one. I was diagnosed with this liver disease right after high school, and it's because the symptoms were awful. I was this chronic fatigue and just, like, abdominal pain. I just felt awful. Like, I was sleeping 18 hours a day. And when I was awake, it was not good awake. It was dragging myself around. And, so I credit my mom for helping me out with that one. Doing some natural remedies. Pushing me to exercise. Pushing me to eat well. I was still living at home at the time. And I kind of got it under control. Felt better. And then I fell off the wagon with it, man. So essentially what it happens is your liver holds fat tissue. It shouldn't, because the fat tissue cells replace healthy liver cells. No one knows really what causes it. It's called non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. There's things that it might be genetic. There's things that, there's these diet things that cause it. But they didn't really know what was causing mine. They did liver biopsy. They did all sorts of stuff trying to figure it out. Essentially, I was told that I just needed to, eat healthy, work out, don't drink, don't do drugs. But I went to college, and that went out the window. I mean, There's props to the people who were able to maintain like good habits when they moved out and went to college, because it was hard. You're up all night, you eat crap, you eat at 3 a.m, you're drinking. Not everybody, but some people are drinking, some people are doing drugs, and it was a problem for me. I've talked about it before, the alcoholic tendencies. I still feel like I am an alcoholic in the fact that I wasn't using it as a healthy, there wasn't a healthy level of drinking. I'm not hooked on alcohol. I don't even have to drink alcohol, but in my head, the addiction factor is still there, and I think about it all the time. And the biggest thing for me now is just controlling what I'm doing, having a grip on my life. And that's kind of it, It sounds so simple, but it's difficult sometimes to be like, okay, I'm going to control every aspect of my life that I possibly can, and the things that I can't control, I'll make peace with. And that's kind of what I live by. That's kind of my motto is, live and let live. You can only do so much. You see people and they just stress over these things that are not in their control. And it drives me nuts because you want to shake them and be like, look, you can't do a thing about that. Or they have reactions to the wrong things. I see so many people now, they get mad online. And they get so angry and they engage in all this, negative talk. And then they get mad when people are trolling them or all these different things. And it's like, look, you can't control the world. You can't control what Donald Trump is going to do. You're not going to be able to control a mass shooting. You're not going to be able to control anything like that. The only thing you can control is how you react to it. And I think some people react so poorly. Like, how can you have so much negativity brought into your life over such inconsequential things? Do you want to let a gun control debate ruin your whole day? Some people, I feel they do. Just accept that there's very different sides to that argument. People have different opinions on it. I think it's sad that these tragedies happen. There's the shooting in Las Vegas, almost 600 people were shot. That's incredible. That's so many people if you think about it. And what I hate, and I just have to step back, are the people who instantly jump onto something. Gun control. Well, the Republicans do this. Well, the Democrats do this. People's reactions to the shooting. Oh, pray for Vegas. Oh, why are you praying for Vegas? Why you change your profile picture? That's stupid. Oh, that does nothing. Excuse me. Did you donate? Most likely you didn't. It bothers me. I think that it's a healing effect. Whether you want to believe it or not, it helps people feel better to know that people are out there and they're sending their best wishes and they're praying for them. Whether you believe in God or not, why do you have to be so goddamn negative about it? I hate that. I honestly hate that so much. Because look, nobody does that in your personal life. This happens only when it says pray for Paris, pray for Tokyo, pray for Haiti, pray for Houston, pray for Florida, pray for Vegas. That's when you get the people who are like, oh, you didn't do anything about it. Prayers are dumb. Your family member dies, and people are like, man, my thoughts and condolences. Bro, fork out money for this funeral. Your thoughts and condolences don't mean anything, right? I hate that. I honestly hate that so much. But that's why I have to step back, is because then I sit there and I get these like pent up feelings of anger, and I just want to like start typing away and blast people and be like, look, Quit being so negative. You can have your opinion. You don't have to believe and force it upon everybody. Before the internet, people had opinions, and they may have shared them. It was the people who were really into it that stood on the street corner and shared their opinions. It was the very interested who went to college campuses and sat in discussions in lecture halls and talked about their opinions. Now it's so easy to just spout your negative, awful opinion or your positive opinion, whatever it may be. Just blast it onto someone's status on Facebook. It's so easy. And instead of passing along positivity, people want to be so negative about everything. I fail that like so much on a personal level all the time because I have so many different types of friends on Facebook that I see. And I don't agree with all sorts of them. I have friends on Facebook that always post about Black Lives Matter and police shootings and, black people this, white people that, white guilt, just everything about that. And I'm like, I understand that you feel that there's this huge problem. And there's a big problem. But not everything is related to that. Not everything has been designed to keep black people down forever. Being a minority has not kept minorities down forever. Okay, white privilege, okay, it may exist. Part of me feels like it does. Part of me feels like that just means you work harder. I don't like the idea that we blame white people for everything. I don't like the idea that if you're a white male, your opinion in America really doesn't mean shit. Which, that's what people want you to believe. That these entitled white males run everything, control everything. And it gets tired. It's a tired argument all the time. I don't ever want to be negative towards like my fellow minorities. But I'm like, look, there's more black people in America than there are Asians. There are more black people in America than there are Asians. Asians are a minority to black people. So I don't like when I get lumped into this category like I'm a white person, because I'm not. I'm a minority. But I didn't even qualify for a lot of minority scholarships because I wasn't black, Hispanic, or Native American. I was like, wait, hold up. When did Asians not become a minority? Like, that's the liberal approach to it. Is those who need help are ones that aren't privileged. And privilege is a direct, result of success. Or success is a direct result of privilege. I talked about this in a previous podcast. It's hard for me to get on board sometimes with minorities when they start talking so crazy about white people and about these different things. And they don't stop to think about like other people. Yeah, I had an incident where an older white gentleman at the grocery store called me a Jap, told me to get out of his way. Nobody was recording that and putting that up on the internet. Nobody cared about that. I did. It hurt my feelings, man. But not to the point where I'm going to make a scene about it. Why be ignorant to show somebody's ignorance? I've had a lot of opportunities in which to interact with people of color, just white people Hispanics, Native Americans, black people. I don't understand what the big deal is. What if everybody was just given a fair shot to make theirs? I think that everybody is. Because everybody has the ability somehow to get what they want. And you might say, oh, you don't have the opportunities, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. And you do. I think everybody has those opportunities. Sacrifices that you make to get those opportunities, however, that's a little different. There's so many white people who grew up in bad parts of town, who had to struggle and make it out of that bad part of town. This is not limited to black people, Asian people, Hispanic people. I think that it's crazy how divided we are in America. We divide ourselves. We always talk about like racism and all this stuff, and how do you beat racism? Well, it's not developing an us versus them attitude. That's the most counterproductive thing I've ever heard. Why don't we separate ourselves into groups to show that we're not racist and that we want racial equality? How does this make sense? I don't know. But people believe it. People think it all the time. Things turn into all sorts of racial things. These NFL protests, to me, they're so... I can't believe it's a news story. And they go on, and we talk about them all the time. The original reason they started these protests, Colin Kaepernick, was protesting police officers who shot innocent, unarmed black people. That was last season. If this were a sitcom, it'd be like last season on the NFL protest. This season on the NFL protest, it's like a completely different thing. People don't care about that anymore. Now the debate is, why are you disrespecting our flag? Kneeling for the flag during the national anthem is not disrespectful to veterans. I'm sorry. It's not. I get so tired, I'm grateful for veterans. I'm grateful for what they do for our country. But they didn't fight for our right to kneel or stand for a flag. And it bothers me when people put so much power into a piece of cloth. This is a flag. You don't disrespect it. I understand that. Symbolism, though, it seems a bit much. You know what countries are forced to stand during national anthem type things? North Korea. I haven't fact checked this, but just what I've heard. They have an intercom system in every home in North Korea that when Kim Jong-un wants to say something, he pushes a button and he can talk to every single person, and they are required to stop what they're doing. They might even have cameras, I don't know. To me, that's not a freedom. That's a dictatorship. So to say that people are required to stand for the flag, required to stand for the national anthem, no. Because those men and women, they were over there fighting for the flag, and they were fighting for the rights of those who don't want to do that. I think the best way to do it is to take the anthem out of sporting events. Why bother? This was never an issue. They never televised the anthem. I've never been to a sporting game where the anthem was played while I was there in my seat. I'm like grabbing food. I'm in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, the anthem started. It's not like they have TVs in the men's room and they're like, now the anthem of the United States of America. And everyone stops pissing, turns around, puts their hand on their heart, and stares at the screen. That doesn't happen. If you're walking in from the parking lot, you don't find the nearest flag, stare up at it, put your hand on your heart, and respect the flag. You continue to walk in and get to your seat. I wish that there was a better way to protest, a better way to make change. Because I think that there is an issue with people getting shot by the police. I think that the police, there needs to be some more accountability. There needs to be easier ways to do their job. And this is what kills me. I'm not anti-police at all. I am in favor of police. And I think they have the hardest job on the planet. Not only do they have to make these decisions so quickly, for them, who knows? How many times do we hear about police officers who get shot? That's not a national statistic on the news every night. We're not hearing about, oh, this officer was killed. This officer was killed. Was that officer killed because they hesitated or they decided, maybe I'll use non-lethal force. Maybe I'll pull out my taser instead of my gun right here. Maybe I'll trust this person and not have a knife or not have a gun. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that that's what's happening. I can't make up statistics. I'm just spitballing. I'm talking. It's the hardest job in America. I wanted to be a police officer at one point. And it's like, what good can you do? You can be a good example. You can be a good cop. But in the end, if the system isn't working, you're a servant of the system. So if you're a servant of a bad system, you're a bad servant. You can be a good servant in a bad system and still look bad. That's why I like the idea of teaching, because you can reach people earlier. You can reach them when their minds are still malleable. They're still in that stage where they're deciding whether or not they want to do what they want to do. When you're a cop, when you're a prison guard, you're facing a population that has already made their choice. Prison guard especially. The police, that's a hard job and I salute them. I don't like the idea that every single time a black person is killed by the police, that it's suddenly a racial thing. That's just not true. Right? But it's a good narrative if it supports, what you're trying to push. I really do think that there needs to be some kind of reform. One thing that I've really been proud of, I guess, in one city is West Valley City here in Utah. They had a lot of corruption and a lot of problems about 5 years ago or maybe longer. And they had to have a clean out. They had a lot of racial profiling happening. And all these arrests and all these different things were just bad. And the chief came in, chief from the East Coast, and he whipped that department into shape. And he recently retired. But that police force, I think, is one of the better ones. And people still have gripes about it. They still have beef about it because they want to believe that they can blame their problems on somebody else, aka the police. It's easy to pass the buck if it gets blame off your back. I learned that a long time ago with a lot of people. If they could do or say something to make you believe that they weren't the problem, they would do that. I lost a lot of friends like that because I was like, I can't be around people like you. Because I know you're a bad person, but you're trying to pass it off like this is not a big deal. I'm glad that my circle is as small as it is today. And I'm grateful for the people that like make an effort to be in my life and be part of it, because they really do. Other than that, man, life is good. I wake up and I'm like, life is really good. I got this girl that I like, and I got a house, a townhouse. I got a new car. I bought some sneakers, Keep buying sneakers. I'm going to have even more money for sneakers. Life is good. And I feel bad for the people that are so sad and so negative about it. Because I think that there's a lot more out there that's so positive, and it makes me happy when I think about those things. I've learned a valuable lesson in looking for what's making me happy and maximizing that and turning that into more positives. And it's not any kind of secret formula either. People are like, what's the key to happiness? What's the key to this? You just have to find what you like and run with it. I like looking at my finances, like my stock portfolio, and I look at that and I'm like, I did that this year? That's all me? Like that's pretty cool. I'm happy. A lot of times I'm like, man, I wish I had some more money. It's about thinking about the good things more than you think about the negatives. Acknowledge your negatives, but dwell on the positives. There's so many things to be grateful for. I'm excited because the next holiday after Halloween is Thanksgiving, my all-time favorite holiday. I love Thanksgiving, love to eat. Might have to cut back this year. But, if I want to stick to this, I'm going to eat healthy stuff, it's like, okay, Thanksgiving might not be as exciting as it is some years, but I can't wait for that, because then I can really sit back and be like, these are all the things I'm grateful for this year. I do that anyway. It's part of my daily meditation. I wake up and I try and get at least 5 minutes of quiet meditation, just clear my mind. And, there's a fair bit of these mantras that I'll recite in my head. But then a lot of it is just thinking, this is something that's good right now. This is something I'm grateful for right now. And I wake up feeling a lot better about my day. And attitude determines altitude, I go into work with a positive attitude, I get a lot more done. I don't sit and sulk as long. There's still some sulking. I'm like, man, I wish I got paid what everybody else here gets paid and all that. But I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to have this job right now because it's steady. I know exactly what my check is going to be every 2 weeks. With the exception of these past 2 weeks, man, I missed some work. And I didn't have the time off to cover it, so I just missed it. So I got my check. I'm like, boy, that's looking a little thin. But I know what my check's going to be. I know what to expect out of my work. I know what to expect out of my boss because I know what he expects out of me. I'm grateful that I have this job right now. I talked about switching and doing these other jobs and stuff like that, but it's right now I just want to focus on this. I'm going to get a raise in December. I'm going to have a lot going on for me. So, good on me for that, I feel. I think that there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this year ends up because there's still a couple months left, and I'm going to get moved into this new place, and we'll see what happens between now and the end of the year. I have a lot of big plans, and I'm grateful for those people who helped me with those plans and who want to be part of my life and who want to be in those plans. I don't know if I'm going to record next week. I'll just say it now. I don't know if I'm going to record next week. It really all depends on... No, I won't be able to record next week because I won't be completely moved. And I'm not going to record here. I'm going to move the laptop, the computer, microphone, all that stuff. I'm going to move it over there. But I won't have internet or anything because I'm not going to be fully moved in probably until closer to the end of the month. I'm trying to be out before November and negotiate something with my current apartment. My lease is up December 24th, so I got a month and a half or so left, and I really don't want to pay it, but I feel like that's the only option. So any feedback, if you ever dealt with people or you want to come in and deal with it for me, that would be awesome, honestly, because I don't want to. But yeah, I'm happy that I recorded another one. I'll have more content. There's so much I want to talk about. I want to talk about college football. I love college football, and the NBA is coming back, and the NFL's been surprisingly good. I've been happy with it. I'm not usually a big NFL fan, but my team's actually doing well this year. Shout out to the Eagles, 5-1. And their only loss comes to the undefeated Chiefs. So, yeah, there's a lot that I want to talk about. But probably not next week. Hopefully, who knows? Maybe I'll do a podcast like tomorrow or something, or on Sunday or Monday. Just to do another one. Because I really enjoy doing them. It's been a little while. But anyway, thanks for listening. And have a great night.